हो दिल ते नहीं लांदा साब ना ही जिंद रोड़दा ओए हो दिल ते नहीं लांदा साब ना ही जिंद रोड़दा मिलू पन गोटे वाला होके ओदे जोड़या सी कोटियां ते ओटियां ते चढ़ांगे कोटियां ते ओटियां ते चढ़ांगे सी कोटियां ते ओटियां ते चढ़ांगे नी हल्ले गम्मा ने कराई नी पैर पुट्टिया ओ चार कड़ियां ते वाली गड्डी मंगदी ओए खड़ा बापू दा पिया नहीं गहने छुट्टिया ओ चार कड़ियां ते वाली गड्डी मंगदी ओए खड़ा बापू दा पिया नहीं गहने छुट्टिया ओ चार कड़ियां ते वाली गड्डी मंगदी ओए खड़ा बापू दा पिया नहीं गहने छुट्टिया ओ चार कड़ियां ते वाली गड्डी मंगदी ओए खड़ा बापू दा पिया नहीं गहने छुट्टिया ओए
किसी भी तरह की डोमैसटिक एंड इंपोर्टेड कार्स की रिपेयर करवानी चाहते हो, ऑयल चेंज करवाना चाहते हो या फिर नवे ते पुराने टायर पवाना चाहते हो तो हमेशा एक नाम याद रखो, खैरा ऑटो रिपेयर। जहाँ पहुंचो स्टील एंड हाईवे 10 के बिल्कुल नजदीक 7800 हर अंटारियो यूनिट नंबर 10 ब्रैम्पटन दे विच या फिर कॉल करो कश्मीर खैरा ਨੂੰ 647 271 4800 6472714100 खैरा ऑटो रिपेयर।
अगर किसी भी तरह के कोई भी क्रिमिनल चार्जेस लग गए ने तो लोकीयर कैंबल ओजनर अपील लॉयर्स ने ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੇਸ ਨੂੰ ਵਧੀਆ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੱਲ ਕਰਵਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਨੇ। ਕੋਰਟ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾਣਾ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਵਧੀਆ ਵਕੀਲਾਂ ਦਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਸਾਈਡ ਤੇ ਹੋਣਾ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਹੈ। ਲੋਕੀਅਰ ਕੈਂਬਲ ਓਜਨਰ ਇੱਕ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੀ ਫਰਮ ਹੈ ਜੋ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਵਧੀਆ ਰਿਪਰੈਜ਼ੈਂਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਸਕਦੇ ਨੇ। 416 847 2560 ਲੋਕੀਅਰ ਕੈਂਬਲ ओजनर।
So I would like to welcome you, Ms. Namrta Mohan, a psychotherapist and a life coach. So over to you, Namrta. Welcome to our show.
Thank you so much, Rani. It's such a pleasure to be here. Sat Shri Akal Saryanu. A very good afternoon. I would like to thank Mehfil TV and Rani for inviting me back again here. And I'm very excited for the show.
It's wonderful you're here. And it, like last time, we spoke about life coach. What is life coach and how do you do that?
Right.
Okay. And the viewers and me and everyone at Mehfil, we have a great idea of what life coach is all about. Though we need more sessions with that. We have just touched the tip of the iceberg.
Right.
So what I was thinking is about the issue that we see all around us. It bothers me a lot. And I know that it bothers many of you out there. It is about the mental health of the present day. So I take this opportunity, Namrta, of taking that topic a little further today, so that we get to know a little more about what mental health is and what mental illness is and how do we go about it, how do we diagnose it, and so on. So welcome viewers, and Namrta, please tell us about what is mental health actually.
Right. So mental health is it is made out of all of us. First of all, we are all equipped with mental health. It's just as physical health, we have mental health. So we never say that somebody does not have a physical health. But mental health has a stigma around it. And I think this is a platform by which, we'll try and break that stigma. Mental health is any individual's capacity to be able to enjoy their life, to be able to find pleasure in things that they do, to be able to feel relaxed, to be able to feel happy. That is what we call mental health and mental well-being. There are a lot of components of mental health, but this is how in general we describe it. Just as somebody says, how are you feeling physically? Yeah, I'm tired. You can be mentally tired. I'm physically feeling great, I'm feeling energetic, and so you could be feeling mentally well and mentally energetic. So we are made up of physical health and mental health. It's not a separate entity for each one of us.
But tell me, it always bothers me, like, why is there a taboo for this? Like, I just cannot get it, because our mental health is as important as our physical health. If they go hand in hand. If we are not healthy in our minds,
right,
then that will lead to diseases in the physical form.
Absolutely, it will.
So why is it that people...
It's interesting, Rani. Thank you so much for this question. And I wish we can really get to the core of it. And it's interesting and challenging at the same time to really answer why. I don't know if we can really answer why. But I always feel that, when we see somebody with a physical health issue, you see somebody with fracture and, cast on them, you really sympathize towards them.
Yes.
The moment you see somebody who's coping with mental illness, we criticize them. So that's a very, I would say, it's a double-sided side of human beings, that we have soft corner for a physical health, but actually what mental health requires is support and sensitivity of individuals, your family, your society, and we unfortunately fail to give it, and rather we make it difficult for individuals to seek help by, covering it under the layer of taboo. Because I think when you asked me why, let's go back a little to understand the why. I think it started from where it was understood that there's no mental health illness. It was somebody is being possessed by something. There was a supernatural involved, or somebody did bad things to somebody, and this is the sins that they are paying off.
Like the witchcraft.
The witchcraft, absolutely. And because you did something wrong to somebody, now devil is possessing you, or the devil is punishing you. So I think those were the myths, and that's how the mental health was understood at one point of time. And it's sad, but even today in remote areas where there is a lack of awareness, people coping with mental illness are still thought that the treatment is to confine them to a room, or worse, to even chain them so that they cannot go out, because we have a lot of myths about it as well.
And I'm sorry to interrupt you, but this I have to tell you, viewers, like, I'm so glad that we are talking on this topic. That itself shows we as human beings have come a long way. The fact that we are sitting here and discussing this topic openly and in public says a lot of where you and all of us have come. We have come a long way, and pat your backs, congratulations to you and all of us.
Absolutely.
I just couldn't help
No, of course. I mean, and that's actually true, Rani, because for us to be sitting here and taking this opportunity of talking, and for our viewers to be sparing their time, paying attention, listening to us, and trying to understand if they have somebody who's coping with it and will be able to help them, or even just to be able to gain some awareness about it, I think that's one step definitely ahead.
Let's do it then.
Absolutely. So, and I think from what I was telling you about mental health, it's also very imperative to know that just as physical health is not always stable.
Yes.
We go through challenges, whether it's flu season, whether it's allergies, whether it is, a little more severe, maybe somebody's coping with high fever. So physical health cannot always be the same, and we cannot always say we are physically well. We always have some of the physical health issue. Similar ways, mental health cannot always be a perfect, stable mental health.
Exactly.
Right? We all go through ups and downs of our life. There could be the work is not going well, spouse had a fight with you, kids are not doing well, sometimes your friends are not coping with it, or you just have some misunderstanding, and that really impacts your mood, it impacts your ability to enjoy things, and that's when you feel low in your life.
Yes,
right?
According to the ups and downs.
Definitely,
right?
Definitely. So depending on your life circumstances, your mental health fluctuates, but we don't say that you have a mental illness. There's a huge, huge difference between going ups and downs with your mental health, just like physical health, suffering from flu, but you don't say that, oh, now I'm sick for the rest of my life. You don't say that when you're coping with flu or cold. You just go, take a medication and take care of yourself. Sad part is that as much as physical health issues are very easy to catch, it's kind of very challenging and complex to really identify mental health issues, and that's where the barrier comes in.
Yeah.
It would have been awesome that, if I could just take somebody's x-ray and say, hey, this is depression, go and take this. Yeah. But unfortunately, it's not like that. So there's a lot more to it, actually.
Okay. And how does a person, if he or she, it can be any of us, right? How do we diagnose it? How do we first see the symptoms in ourselves?
Right, it's a beautiful question, Rani. Thank you for bringing this up. So let's go step by step to understand that. Just as I said a little while ago, that we all go through moments of, anger, moments of sadness, because they're natural emotions inside us. With a lot of awareness, which social media is playing a great, great role in spreading about it, and, people are trying to talk more about it, it's very imperative for people to understand that there is a formal process of how a mental illness is diagnosed, which is very different from mental health issue. Feeling sad, feeling gloomy, feeling like crying for no reason are not really a mental illness. So you have to talk to your physician. The physician is going to observe your symptoms for a while. The physician is going to ask you about certain things. And it takes a long time to be able to really say that, and differentiate between mental health issue and mental illness. Because when you term something as an illness, it takes it to another platform.
Yeah.
And with that label of the illness comes a lot of other things. In terms of your treatment process, how it would look like for a mental health issue is kind of more severe for mental illness.
Yeah.
I think I'm again going to take an opportunity to draw the analogy between physical ailment and mental illness. So for example, somebody who's coping with the flu season, it's not something terminally ill, as opposed to somebody, who's unfortunately suffering from a cancer stage 3 or something. That is where the treatment gets intense, right? But now somebody who's just coping with an allergy season is not as intense as somebody who's coping with a terminal cancer stage 3. So the treatment is different, the labeling is different, and the approach is different. So when people start saying that, oh, I have mental illness, then they start believing it, because mental health is about your psychological well-being.
Yes.
And when your psychological well-being is, labeled as something which is not fine, then you automatically start believing and behaving accordingly.
So, by what I understand, and I'm sure even the viewers would want to know,
Right.
is there are stages.
Definitely, yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
So, can you elaborate on that?
So yes, absolutely. I mean, there are different stages. Just as you don't, and I'll continue to draw analogies between
Okay.
physical health and mental health, as it will help our viewers to really understand.
Okay.
Just as any fever will not be pneumonia, right? There will be stages of a fever before the physician says that, oh, hey, I think it's pneumonia. Before that, there are stages. Same way, just because you feel kind of low, gloomy, sad, frustrated, or you're feeling helpless, does not mean you're coping with depression, or does not mean that just because you're forgetting certain things and I don't know where I kept my keys, I don't remember where I had my bag in my hand, I don't know where I kept it. So those are not indicators that you're losing your memory, right? They can just be regular forgetfulness. So before you really start believing or thinking about it that, oh, I might be coping with memory loss. So there's a difference between forgetfulness, memory loss, and then amnesia. So there are different stages of it, and I would strongly encourage our viewers and everybody to please try and gain help and information at every stage. So feel free to talk to your physician that, this is what I've been experiencing, and he or she would be able to really guide you to say that, okay, these are just regular things that happen, they are day-to-day activities, or they could say that, what, let's monitor it, let's observe it for, next few weeks, or let's see how you perform on this, and then it takes a while before, you really get that diagnosis of saying that there is a mental illness, from whether we say it's anxiety. And I have somebody, so I'll just take this to give an example, that I was approached by somebody who said that I would like you to work with me on generalized anxiety disorder. I was like, great, we'll work. So just as I was doing an intake and I was talking with her, we realized she never had a formal diagnosis of generalized anxiety disorder. It was just that she started feeling anxious. So now these are two very different things that, when I might feel anxious, and for me to be able to say that, I'm coping with generalized anxiety disorder, because there has to be a physician involved, there has to be a psychiatrist involved who would do different kinds of assessments in order for us to be able to reach to that conclusion.
And one more thing I see is, before going to the physician, what generally happens is Mr. Google.
Absolutely.
So, I see youngsters and so many people,
right,
coming to their own conclusion.
Definitely.
And even if it is not a severe ailment or a mental illness, they say, oh, Google says this. It's and they just go by it. So please don't do that. It is okay for general information,
yes,
but don't come to any conclusion about your physical health or your mental health just based on Mr. Google.
Absolutely.
Yeah, take your doctor's advice, please. That's a request, because I see it happening everywhere.
And I think, Rani, just to support your point, when youngsters, especially as you mentioned, when they read a lot about it, you start feeling about it, right? For
Exactly.
example, I was
Exactly.
reading a book the other day and about personality disorders, and once I started reading, I started kind of feeling
Yeah.
that, oh, I have this, oh, this seems like me.
Yeah,
And then I
exactly.
literally had to close that book
Yeah.
down, because that started making me feel that, oh, am I an obsessive compulsive disorder personality?
It puts ideas in your head.
It puts ideas, and
Exactly,
also because
exactly.
we all, in terms of mental health, we range from spectrum. So we have all the symptoms within us always.
Yes.
It only becomes a problem or a challenge, an issue or an illness when it crosses a certain extent or when it is inflated. We are all suspicious of something or the else in our life. Like especially when I work with the marital counseling, a lot of spouses are suspicious about the other spouse having an affair, but that does not mean they're paranoid. So you have to be very
Yeah.
careful of what suspicion and what paranoia is before you start talking about it to ourselves. And youngsters, definitely, please, you guys are really smart, and use Google to enhance your knowledge, definitely.
Exactly, and please don't imagine the symptoms that are not there, because the more we read about it, the more you read about it, we imagine, like Namrta was saying, we start imagining, okay, we may have those symptoms, so please don't do that.
Yeah.
Because our bodies are healthy and they are equipped. God has given us that ability to face it and to overcome it. And the first step is to accept that things happen and you can get better. That's the first step. So believe in yourself. What do you say, Namrta?
I think absolutely. So mental health, just as, again, I'm going to draw an analogy, because just as we are able to take care of our physical health, we can definitely take care of our mental health. And
Absolutely.
so there's a holistic approach that we talk of. Why are we going to wait till we develop a mental illness? We are going to take some steps prior to it as a preventative measures to be able to contain the chances of developing those mental health illnesses or mental health issues. And there are a lot of holistic methods, and I think, Rani, because I know that you have expertise in certain of them, so
Yes.
just talk a little about those Reiki, yoga.
Yes, even I feel prevention is better than cure. So start by living healthy, eat healthy, and meditation. It calms you down. When your mind is calm, you can cope up with the pressures of life better. So it all goes hand in hand, and yoga, your inside out is polished. That's how I call it. Both your insides and outside get cleansed. So do that, and you don't have to wait till the nth minute to say, oh, I'm so sick, I cannot take it anymore. Of course you can take it. We all are strong. God has given us the strength, and you can do it. So get into the spiritual way and do what is right for you. So that's what I would say.
Definitely, and in addition to yoga, meditation, Reiki and spirituality, it has a lot to do with your lifestyle. So lifestyle in this century is way different than it was probably 50 years ago, and that's why we hear that, oh, these are new problems.
Yes.
These never, like if you talk to your grandparents, they'll say like, what depression, what anxiety, what are you talking of, right? Those are normal circumstances. So first of all, there's always a question like, what is normal? Like, what is normality? We are still, working towards finding it, because normal can be different for every individual.
Exactly.
Everybody has their own definition of normality. So that is an ongoing and a very subjective thing. And you also have to understand that two people can be in the same circumstances, everything could be same, and the responses could be extremely different or absolutely opposite, which means that even their mind and body's reaction is going to be different.
Exactly.
And that's what we call resiliency. We are all equipped to be resilient to face life situations. What makes a difference is that somebody can have high resiliency and somebody can be low. But that does not mean that somebody is resilient and somebody is not.
That's so beautifully put.
So that is extremely important for each one of us to understand and give yourself credit for being resilient. Just because somebody else is doing something which is Herculean does not mean that you would be resilient only when you are able to do something like that. Everybody cannot climb up Mount Everest, for heaven's sake, please. Right?
Yeah.
But everybody does something or the other which is in their best of abilities. And that equally makes you as resilient as somebody else.
Like we all have our weaknesses and strengths.
Definitely.
We have to work on our strengths to get better.
you have to work on strengths, but before that we got to accept that we do have weaknesses.
Yes.
Because that's just human.
Yeah, and there's no need to be ashamed of it.
Definitely, because unless and until
Yeah.
you accept, you'll never work on them. We only work on areas to improve when you know there is a scope of improvement.
And each and every person is unique.
Unique, and I think that's the defining line, subjectivity and uniqueness. So physically, even like in terms of physical health, just because, let's say there is a family history of diabetes, so which means that the next generation has a predisposition of being diabetic based on the history of a family, right? Same ways, mental health, let's say there is a history of mental illness, would just mean that the individual in the next generation is a little more predisposed to developing that in certain situations. But again, if you take care of other things, then that might never happen.
So you mean it's not that the person has to be 100% diabetic in his life?
No.
It can be prevented, right?
Definitely, it can be prevented, and even if one develops it, how many, I know personally people in my circle who are coping with diabetes but who are doing exceptionally well in their lives. They go out, they enjoy life, they enjoy parties, they watch movies, so they are not restricted by the society to be confined into that one room just because they are diabetic. But same ways, if we say somebody is coping with and has been diagnosed with depression, it should not mean that your life is not any more valuable, or that you have no right to enjoy your life, or that there is no scope to recover. Because a lot of people who are coping with mental health issues, they develop a sense of feeling that there's nothing more left now.
Yes,
this is the end. This is
like
it.
the world has ended.
Absolutely, and like the world crashes. And it's very interesting when I work with individuals. Sometimes I will ask them that what mental health issue looks like to you. So it's beautiful how people, some of them like to draw, and they'll draw something very different from the two people who are drawing. One could reflect in a different way and the other one could reflect in an absolute different way.
Absolutely.
So mental health is something which is given to all of us, and we need to just be taking care of it on a daily basis. You cannot say that I'm going to be extremely stressed out today, and then I'm going to spend this week in extreme stress, next week I'm just going to be relaxed. That's not how it works. Right? You have to maintain it on a daily basis.
Each day is a new day.
Each day is a new day. Right.
Yeah. So what are the common mental illnesses, Namrta, that a person faces nowadays?
Right. So I would just make a little correction here. So let's not get to the illnesses so far. Let's just first understand that what are the mental health issues that we cope with. Because as you talked of stages, so that would be the first stage. Okay. Right. So the most common ones that we see these days are anxiety, phobias. They have always been there. It's just that especially I see a lot of phobia issues with people, unfortunately, and fortunately and unfortunately, the ones who've survived motor vehicle accidents. They've survived it, and if they've been blessed enough of not being hurt physically, like their physical ailments or physical hurt or wounds are not visible, but believe me, they have extreme emotional pain that they're going through.
But I think any traumatic experience in life, like anything, like you said, accidents, or even failing in an exam for a youngster, or a divorce, or a separation, or losing a loved one, these are all life-changing situations.
They are totally and again we'll come back to the resiliency and subjectivity and individuality part of it, that as Rani just counted so many of them, losing loved one, just not even, you don't even tend to lose, even sometimes just having a fight between your loved ones, seeing your parents fight, and kids start speculating that now because they fought they're going to get divorced. So that's how kids speculated, and what happens is you fought with your spouse, you go to work, you're already agitated and frustrated about it, you go to work, you talk to your colleagues, you're bound to be frustrated, and you might snap at them, and the other person doesn't know. So it's a ripple effect. You snap at somebody, the other one would snap at somebody, and then the chain goes on, and everybody starts feeling kind of low in their life.
It's a vicious cycle.
It's definitely a vicious cycle that can only be controlled when one pauses. That's extremely important. Bills will always be there. Concerns will always be there. As long as you have relationships, there'll always be challenges, but that does not mean that you're going to keep leaving your relationships and keep moving. let's say you have an issue at workplace. Are you going to keep quitting your job and gaining the new one and then developing an issue and quitting it? So that's not how you're going to be maintaining your mental health. You won't say that, oh, so this is giving me stress, I'm just going to quit and move on. How many times are we going to quit in life?
But then I think there are degrees.
Definitely.
Really? Like you don't have to be there if it is life-threatening.
Oh, definitely. And that's
We
why I
don't
said
mean
that
that,
we
right?
go in
Yeah.
stages.
Yeah.
That if it depends. And as Rani said, it's very imperative for you to understand, especially a lot of people, who are going through something very traumatic in their life. If being in that situation, 1, if it is life-threatening, 7, if it threatens your well-being, emotionally, psychologically, cognitively, anyways, then that is something you need to take an action about.
Yeah.
Because staying there is going to further harm your well-being.
Yes.
And now that we are talking of the wellness time, it's important to understand that your wellness is your responsibility. Sometimes, yes, you have connections, it's your family, it's your kids, it's your spouse, it's your friends, it's a lot of people, but believe me, end of the day, your wellness is definitely in your hands. And it sounds easier than said, right? That, how can I, because when you work with young mothers, they'll say that, oh, my child is so young, how I don't have time for myself, I cannot do anything because I'm busy taking. Yes, that's true. But then again, as we talked in the beginning, that we humans are blessed to multitask. So we can always do that as long as 1, we really understand the significance of it. 2, we understand the impact. So right now, not investing in your well-being and trying to overdo things is going to have impact in the long term. That's important.
Yeah, I've been thinking, like, why is there so many challenges with regard to mental health nowadays, and before it wasn't so, not so much.
Right.
And I think, like, according to what I believe, it's the family network. Like earlier, we used to have our relatives, we used to have our grandfather, grandparents, cousins. It's the joint family system. So there always used to be somebody whom we could go to. But what I see, the kind of life we are leading now is the nuclear family system.
Right.
I won't say it's all bad, but it does have its disadvantages. Like sometimes our children may not have somewhere to go, like the way we used to run to our grandparents or cousins or aunts. Our children, many children here, don't have that luxury. I think all these factors there is a price to pay for all this.
Oh, absolutely, Rani. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful topic that you've picked up. The family support system and how it looks like, and the comparison that you draw, that when we were growing up, I remember, running to my grandparents. If my parents said something, even if they didn't say something, I would still just go and make a complaint, which never existed, and my parents would be reprimanded for no reason, right? So I had that kind of luxury, privilege, and security.
Exactly.
That is the core of it, that the way kids used to have security of being close to the extended family, unfortunately now, because of the society or because of the way things are right now, that is missing. And that's a very, very important sense that, emotional security is something which really, really is a detrimental factor to your mental health. Once you're able to have that sense of security, your mental wellness goes up, and your chances and probability of developing a mental illness would go down.
Now I feel there's a strong fear of being judged, which we never grew up like that. But now even the youngsters or adults at every stage of our lives, like we're always judged.
True.
And I wonder why.
Again, why is always a difficult one to answer. So again, it's different era now, number 1. Second, the kind of, and I think people always had different personas, like the way we are with our friends, we are different with our parents, we are different with our relatives. So there's a different persona which is by nature human for us to wear, but then there's also a real self. And I think before the social media was kicked in with the intensity that it is now, the need of wearing that persona was less, and the relaxation of just being who you are and being accepted the way you are was very high. Now it's the other way around. So and I think last week also we touched a little on the social media and how it's impacting. As much as social media is a platform, it says to connect people, I think it's equally a culprit to be judging people.
Yes.
Because
and even disconnects people with the reality.
It disconnects with reality.
Yeah,
it disconnects with the person sitting next to you.
Yeah.
I can be talking to somebody in the other part of the world, but I am not talking to you who's sitting next to me. So there's always a thought about it that, really social media, whether it connects you or it disconnects you. Because it also gives people, like anything you write on social media will draw a reaction. If you write something good, 10 people will say good things, 20 people will still find a reason to criticize. And also I think what you were saying, that why judgment is now, I think judgment was always there. The difference that is now is that now the generation is way too sensitive or intolerant. I wouldn't comment on that. That now that sense of, wanting to be accepted, need to be wanted, need for the affiliation is way higher than it used to be in the past. So I think
let's just say it is the times that we live in.
When I have no answer to why, then that's my answer. Yes. So I mean, times have definitely changed. Times have changed, situations have changed, circumstances have changed, and just as you mentioned a little while ago about the family system, the family structures have changed so drastically. I remember when I was growing up and when I went to school, teachers could just pull your ear or even spank you, and you wouldn't come back home and even tell, because parents would be like, you must have done something for which teacher had to do that. But now when I see the school system, it's kind of different, because one, if teacher says something to you, the teacher is always scared that, I shouldn't be, there would be an implication for me to be able to say this, or how my words would be interpreted. So I think in general, we all live in a culture of fear. There is a fear associated with anything. I mean, I was at McDonald's the other day and we saw that cup and the cap had it written that hot. And I was just wondering that, why you need to write. Of course I know the coffee is hot. And I happened to just ask them, and I was very surprised to find out when they said that, oh no, we have had issue when we didn't mention it.
Yes, they were sued.
Yeah, and I was like, seriously, just because you didn't write it, couldn't people feel it? So I mean, it's about the interpretation. It's about how, again, subjectivity. When you have to be, it's like walking on eggshells.
Yes.
And if you have to walk on eggshells, how are you going to enjoy life? How are you going to be stress-free? So when you're not going to be able to enjoy your life, when you really have to watch what you say or how it could be interpreted, your mental health is bound to be impacted because it is so stressed.
Yes.
So I think it's all interconnected, that how your mental well-being is there and how it can convert into a mental illness due to some reasons. And I think except family history where you're genetically predisposed, everything else can be taken care of. Everything else is something which we can prevent, where interventions can be placed earlier than the diagnosis is made, or even once the diagnosis is made. I think we have a medical model, pharmacotherapy, where medication is given, but in addition to that, there are other therapies that are needed to cure the root. Medication is not going to cure the root. That is an underlying fact, that it's not a magic wand.
Yeah, exactly. There are a lot of things put together.
Absolutely, definitely. Healing is...
Yeah, it's a process.
It's a process.
I call it a process.
It's definitely a process and a journey that the therapist and the individual coping with it, or I would also say it's not the individual actually who copes. The ones who have families, it's the family who copes with it.
The whole family goes through that.
Through the journey.
Experience,
Through the experience, through the journey. And the recovery is also based on this circle of care. So that's important, that if you are somebody who is coping with mental health issues and you are privileged, and I always call it privilege, that if you're staying with your family who's supportive, please don't shy away or don't feel embarrassed to include your family, because if you have that, you cannot even imagine the success rate of your recovery.
Don't be ashamed. There's nothing to be ashamed of.
There's nothing to be ashamed. You didn't do anything illegal.
Exactly.
Mental health issues are not illegal so far. You can have them, you can develop them, you can still take medication and seek other therapies to be able to come out of it, and the sky's the limit for you then.
It's curable.
Definitely. And I think that is one issue that a lot of people believe that, oh, now that I have mental health, now everything is done for me.
Exactly.
Like there's no hope for me. I can't do this because I have mental health. No, please come out of this belief. Only, I think I was speaking to one of the psychiatrists in last week, and who was very, very articulate in saying that it's only 5% of severe mental health issues, which includes psychosis, schizophrenia, and those kinds of things, which are really, really, challenging to work with, and which would require, and which might require you to be an inpatient, or which might induce the sense of violence or aggression. But otherwise, 95% of mental health illnesses are curable.
There's a viewer.
Sure.
Hello.
Placement ਨੂੰ A Z D Z driver
Hello.
हेलो सत श्री अकाल
सत श्री अकाल जी, बोलिए।
हाँ जी, मैं ना कल सोया सी ना 850 Mehfil TV पे।
हाँ।
तो मेरा 20 तरीक का किथे लगना है आपको?
What is it? Just disconnect. I can't hear you.
20 तरीक का बच्चा मेरा कल मैं हमें आई थी तो मैं कहीं तरह देखा नहीं हैगा।
अच्छा जी।
ऐतवार 20 तरीक का बच्चा थी ना, पता नहीं लगा तो कि मेरा ख्याल होगा लेट जाना।
हेलो हेलो।
Okay. So
Sorry about that. We got disconnected.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, we were talking of the fact that, just like anything else, mental health, it's only 5%, which is really, really severe, and, which can limit individuals' ability to perform in their life, and, be able to go ahead with their education, with their careers, have a family life, be able to maintain it. Outside of that, a huge chunk of what we call mental illness is not really illness, first of all. It's a mental health issue, which by significant interventions at the right time can be taken care of.
Hello, सत श्री अकाल, महफिल टीवी। Sorry about the interruption.
That's okay. Somebody is trying to reach us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like, mental health is definitely a very significant part of our lives.
So I'd like to know, is there any age when it can start? What is the age?
Okay, so that's another very interesting question, because I think 2 weeks prior there was some research that I was reading where it said that, children as young as age 5 can develop depression, which was very at 5. So that was very, very sad and startling that, by the age of 5, kids are barely toilet trained, like, they can barely use toilet and on their own, and, they're equipping. And for a child to be able to develop depression and clinical depression by the age of 5 was something very startling for me. So if we consider that, then I think it can start from any age, and it can go up to any age. So I think it would be kind of hard to say that, this is the prime age for you to develop. Okay. A lot of kids, when they are, especially grade 10, grade high school, and grade 12 or university, when they have different transitions, levels of different transitions, I think that's when they are prone to. Not only students, I would say, in general, even adults, when one is getting married, that's one transition, which requires a lot of mental strength. Then when you have kids, then that's another transition phase. So anytime there's a significant transition in somebody's life, I think that's when the probability of developing a mental health issue kind of becomes higher.
Okay, you said a 5-year-old child can also have depression.
That's the latest research I found. Wow, I was very sad about.
That's disheartening. So what are the factors, according to you, Namrta, that can lead to these sad symptoms?
Sure. So I mean, like, if we talk about the 5-year-old, which I'm still trying to, I'm still researching to somebody to say it's not true, or somebody just to say it's a typo error of 5.
Exactly.
But I think if like, considering, let's take that thing as a 5-year-old, It could be one, a very, very disturbed family environment, very disturbed parenting.
By that, what do you mean?
So disturbed family environment would mean that, maybe where either it's a single parent or both the parents are coexisting in the same house, but there's always a fight, an argument, or maybe they're coping with addictions, because addictions can really, really induce a lot of mental health issues as well. And then there is a kind of overlap between the two, right? That somebody is coping with addictions because of mental health, or somebody developed mental health because of prolonged addiction. So it's like, which came first, chicken or egg? Right? So that is another thing that, depending on how the home environment is, how the parental relationship is, because for a 5-year-old, those are the building years. From 0 to 5 is when a child's personality is shaped.
Foundation.
It's the foundation, definitely. And if during that time, if the child hasn't been able to gain sense of security, gain sense of acceptance in the family, gain sense of being loved and cared for, those are the moments when somebody can really, really feel crashed, and they can feel that the mental health and depression is setting in.
So now for a short break. We'll be back, viewers. Stay with us.
ਦੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਡਿਮਾਂਡ ਆ ਤੇ ਨਾਲ ਲੋਕਲ ਕੰਮ ਲਈ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਹੀ ਸ਼ਿਫਟਸ ਅਵੇਲੇਬਲ ਨੇ, ਮਾਰਨਿੰਗ, ਆਫਟਰਨੂਨ, ਨਾਈਟ ਸ਼ਿਫਟਸ। ਤੇ ਇਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹਾਈਵੇ ਵਾਲੇ ਡਰਾਈਵਰਸ ਲਈ ਸ਼ਾਰਟ ਹਾਲ, ਲੌਂਗ ਹਾਲ ਅਤੇ ਡੇਲੀ ਯੂਐਸ ਟ੍ਰਿਪਸ ਵੀ ਅਵੇਲੇਬਲ ਨੇ। ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਸ਼ੰਟਰਸ ਦੀ ਵੀ ਲੋੜ ਆ। ਪੇ ਰੇਟ ਮਾਰਕੀਟ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਬੈਸਟ ਨੇ ਤੇ ਬੈਸਟ ਗਿਣੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ।
ਲੈ ਬਈ ਹੁਣ ਤਾਂ ਆਉਣਗੇ ਨਜ਼ਾਰੇ, ਤੇ ਮੇਰੀ ਗੱਲ ਸੁਣ ਕੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਪਹੁੰਚੋ ਸਾਰੇ ਫਿਊਜ਼ਨ ਪਲੇਸਮੈਂਟ ਤੇ, ਜਿੱਥੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਮਰਜ਼ੀ ਦੀਆਂ ਸ਼ਿਫਟਾਂ ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਮਰਜ਼ੀ ਦੇ ਪੈਸੇ ਕਰਨੇ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਇੰਤਜ਼ਾਰ। ਤੇ ਫੋਨ ਨੰਬਰ ਨੋਟ ਕਰੋ ਮੇਰੇ ਯਾਰ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਫੋਨ ਨੰਬਰ ਹੈ 4167257929 647278100 ਤੇ ਬਣ ਜਾਓ ਹੁਣ ਹੀਰੋ।
ਹੁਣ ਦੇਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਦਿਨਾਂ ਚ ਰੱਬ ਛੇਤੀ ਹੀ ਕਰਾਊ ਬੱਲੇ ਬੱਲੇ।
ਦੇਸੀ ਦਵਾਈਆਂ ਦਾ ਚਮਤਕਾਰ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਵਾਈਆਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਡੋਡੇ, ਅਫੀਮ, ਚਰਸ, ਗਾਂਜਾ, ਸ਼ਰਾਬ ਅਤੇ ਹਰ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਨਸ਼ਾ ਬਿਨਾਂ ਤਕਲੀਫ ਤੋਂ ਛਡਾਇਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ। ਦੇਸੀ ਜੜੀ ਬੂਟੀਆਂ ਨਾਲ ਤਿਆਰ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਹਰਬਲ ਵਾਇਗਰਾ, ਜਿਸ ਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਸਾਈਡ ਇਫੈਕਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ। ਔਰਤਾਂ ਤੇ ਮਰਦਾਂ ਦੇ ਗੁਪਤ ਰੋਗਾਂ ਦਾ ਤਸੱਲੀ ਬਖਸ਼ ਇਲਾਜ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ। ਜੋੜਾਂ ਦਾ ਦਰਦ ਅਤੇ ਮਾਈਗ੍ਰੇਨ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਘਬਰਾਓ ਨਾ, ਬਸ ਕਾਲ ਕਰੋ 416 425 0138। ਦੇਸੀ ਦਵਾਈਆਂ ਦਾ ਚਮਤਕਾਰ।
ਹਫਤੇ ਦੇ 7 ਦਿਨ ਖੁੱਲੇ ਤੇ ਕੌਣ ਫਿਰ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਭੁੱਲੇ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਦੇ ਵੀ ਟਰੱਕ ਜਾਂ ਟ੍ਰੇਲਰ ਦੀ ਰਿਪੇਅਰ ਕਰਾਉਣੀ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ, ਫਿਰ ਇੱਕ ਨਾਂ ਤੇ ਨੰਬਰ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਚੇਤੇ ਰੱਖਿਓ, ਗਿੱਲ ਟਰੱਕ ਟ੍ਰੇਲਰ ਰਿਪੇਅਰ ਸ਼ਾਪ। ਟਰੱਕ ਦੀ ਟ੍ਰੇਲਰ ਦੀ ਰਿਪੇਅਰ ਕਰਾਉਣੀ ਹੈ, ਰੋਡ ਸਰਵਿਸ ਲੈਣੀ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਤੇ ਕਾਲ ਕਰ ਲਿਓ ਗਿੱਲ ਟਰੱਕ ਟ੍ਰੇਲਰ ਰਿਪੇਅਰ ਸ਼ਾਪ ਤੇ। ਹੋਰ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਵਾਸਤੇ 905 458 3455। ਮਾਈਨਰ ਜਾਂ ਮੇਜਰ ਰਿਪੇਅਰ ਕਰਾਉਣੀ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ, ਗਿੱਲ ਟਰੱਕ ਟ੍ਰੇਲਰ ਰਿਪੇਅਰ ਸ਼ਾਪ 905 458 3455 ਤੇ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ।
ਗਿੱਲ ਟਰੱਕ ਐਂਡ ਟ੍ਰੇਲਰ ਰਿਪੇਅਰ।
ਅਗਰ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਕ੍ਰਿਮੀਨਲ ਚਾਰजेस ਲੱਗ ਗਏ ਨੇ ਤਾਂ ਲੋਕੀਅਰ ਕੈਂਬਲ ਪੋਜ਼ਨਰ ਅਪੀਲ ਲਾਇਰਸ ਨੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੇਸ ਨੂੰ ਵਧੀਆ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੱਲ ਕਰਵਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਨੇ। ਕੋਰਟ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾਣਾ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਵਧੀਆ ਵਕੀਲਾਂ ਦਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਸਾਈਡ ਤੇ ਹੋਣਾ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਹੈ। ਲੋਕੀਅਰ ਕੈਂਬਲ ਪੋਜ਼ਨਰ ਇੱਕ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੀ ਫਰਮ ਹੈ ਜੋ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਵਧੀਆ ਰੈਪਰੈਜ਼ੈਂਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਸਕਦੇ ਨੇ। 416 847 2560 ਲੋਕੀਅਰ ਕੈਂਬਲ ਪੋਜ਼ਨਰ।
Welcome back, viewers. So it's wonderful having Namrta on a show today. So Namrta, we have learned a lot, and I'm sure even the viewers have a better idea of what mental health and mental illness is. And hopefully I'll see you next week.
Sure, absolutely.
So next week, same time, 2:30 every Saturday, and hopefully we will see Namrta Mohan with us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me.
And any questions, you can either call us on 416-366-1234. Or you can get in touch with Namrta Mohan if you have any questions for her on her Facebook. And please give the details, Namrta.
So for my Facebook page, it's my life coaching, and or you can email me at namrtapsychotherapy@gmail.com, Namrta Psychotherapy @gmail.com. Thank you so much.
So they can inbox you on your Facebook, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And by what name do they search for you?
So they can look for me at Namrta, NAMRTAGAUR.
Okay. So it is Namrta Gaur.
Yeah. So that's my Facebook page, but go on, it's my life coaching, and you can connect with me.